Yeah, I didn't do it. Don't worry. It shouldn't affect my game time. Oh my god, shut up. Watch your video code. Farming Sim. I'm actually starting to get back into Farming Sim again. So next year you're probably gonna see me stream a little bit more Farming Sim. Anyway, I didn't know this. I felt like it would have. I felt like it was true, but I didn't know if it was true. But apparently it is confirmed. Farming Simulator 21 does not and will not exist. No mobile version, no console version, no Steam version. Nothing. It will not exist. Anyway. '22 came out. Oh my god. It's literally like on meth. There's seasons. You have to roll down stones. There's more ways to cultivate your fields. There's 3 more crops. Probably 4 more. Maybe. I don't know. There are multiple new machines. Over 500, actually. Compared to, like, what, 200 in the one, like, 6 years ago? And more.
At Walmart, save on thousands of gifts for everyone on your list. The savings are here all month long. Plus, get delivery on your gifts in as fast as 1 hour, right up to Christmas Eve. Shop Walmart online or in-store today.
What happened to Farming Sim 21? So, if you don't know, Farming Sim is a game where, of course, you do farming. I think one of the big parts of Farming Sim is that they actually release a new one every 1 to 2 years. There's Farming Sim like 2008. The earliest Farming Sim I've ever played was 2012, and the first console version was 2013 on Xbox 360. I also own, man, this is the earliest PS. Let's see. I have Farming Sim. Oh, yes. Wait, there's 17. I have 15, don't I? Don't I have Farming 15? Huh. I thought I had Farming Sim 2000 and... Oh, I might have had Farming Sim 2015 on the Xbox. Here's Farming Sim 17. I used to have 12 on my old iPad. Then I had like 13 and 15 on the Xbox, and then 17 and 19 on the PS4, and finally I'm gonna get 22 on the PS5. This version might be good. I may not upgrade from it unless something significant comes out. However, there's a problem, is that Farming Sim is starting to hit its peak. There's almost nothing you can add to the game. What happened to Farming Sim 2021? Why did it not come out?
There may never even be a game called Farming Simulator 21. Now, I'm already aware of quite a split opinion on this. Some of you are thinking, what? Why? We need Farming Simulator. Others are saying, that is a good idea.
I bet you it's because of COVID or something.
Don't release a game every 2 years. Put more time into each one, and make each one much, much better than the previous. For as long as the Farming Simulator series has been going, there's been a new release at least every 2 years. Beginning it was actually every year, with 2008 and 2009 back to back. Now, of course, there is a reason behind all of this. I have been in contact with Giants just to clarify and confirm a few things. But essentially, the main idea behind not releasing one this year is because of the upcoming next generation consoles. There's not much point in creating a game for the existing consoles just before the release of the new ones. It would be pointless from a player's point of view and from a business point of view. So that leaves the question, what is happening?
Yes! I got it! I got the good one! I got the good quote! Let's go! You are the best captain on the planet! I'm not even squidding! Let's go! We got it! I love that. I love that quote. It's my favorite.
Simulator game? Is this the end? Is there going to be more work put into FS19? Well, basically, the answers which I have are as follows. Farming Simulator 19 is going to be continued to be worked on for the rest of this year at least, with more DLCs. More DLCs are going to be released throughout the year. I haven't heard what is actually happening with the next game. I haven't been told that there isn't going to be one. There must be one because Farming Simulator is such a successful series. So I'm guessing, this is speculation, that there is going
Farming
to
Sim. The fun thing I like about Farming Sim is that there's so many vehicles. If you don't know, the reason why I really like to play Farming Simulator is because I live in Illinois. Alright, let's keep it a $1.50. I live in Illinois, and if you don't know, Illinois is a extremely agricultural heavy state. Literally the second most agricultural state in the country, tied to places like, what's it called? Tied to places like Iowa. You know what I mean? Okay. Actually, yeah. But the funny thing I like about Farming Sim is not only do you have a lot of vehicles, but you can literally screw around. Like what's it called? I think the guy named Let's Game It Out, he demonstrated it perfectly. You can screw around the game. You don't even have to farm. You can literally just jack around the game and mess around, have fun, not even farm, and still have an enjoyable time. You could literally like ruin the world and then buy out everybody else's, land. Like a like the what's it called? The monopolistic little greedy butthole you are.
an even more evolved game. Now, of course, I did ask the question, when is the next Farming Simulator 19 DLC going to be announced? And at the moment, it's not ready to be publicly announced, so we currently don't know, but there are going to be more DLCs this year. So is this going to change the future for the way that Farming Simulator is released? Is there going to be one every 3 to 5 years instead of one every 2 years? We just don't know. I think what's going to probably happen is when the next one is released, if it's released, it will be built off that. And I just have a feeling, this is all my opinion, I just have a feeling that the next one isn't going to be numbered like FS17, FS19. I just can't help but think that it's going to be just called simply Farming Simulator, or maybe a totally different name, and then the game will be built off that. Kind of like what ETS2 is doing in Euro Truck Simulator. I know it is called 2, but they've sort of released the base game back in 2012 and built from it. They haven't released a new version every single year, so it's forever improving. Now, of course, there are DLCs for FS19, but they're only adding more machinery. They're not really changing the game in a major way, such as changing the physics or the graphics. Of course, it might be called FS21 if it's still released next year, or it could be FS22. Nobody knows. This is the thing. What we do know though, as I've said, is it's not going to be this year. Over the past year of me creating Let's Play videos and live streams for Farming Simulator, I've always had so many viewers say, what do you want to see in the next Farming Simulator game? And I've always come back to the one thing, obviously there's loads of things that everybody wants, but the one thing which is sort of always at my number one and a lot of other people's number one is dynamic ground. But I've always said, if they're going to do it, it has to be perfect. And really that applies for every single big game-changing feature, because it's something like that which could make or break a game. If it just feels clunky, it's just going to turn you off the game very quickly, and it could make the franchise go downhill unbelievably fast. So taking the time to see what the next generation consoles have to offer and figuring out what they can do to really improve the game is a fantastic approach. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Please do post your comments down below. I would love to hear your opinion on this, and I might even do an update.
And this one's called My Farming Sim just hits different.
We're checking out the only game where you can destroy the fabric of reality. Farming Simulator 19.
Farming Simulator 22 once again.
Farming Simulator 22, but I don't know how to do that.
Yes, mate. Trying to farm
Like,
here. I feel like
you would think a farming game, you know, what do you think about when I say video games? If I told you, I need you to write me down a piece of paper, and I want you to tell me what video game genres are there. You're gonna put down sandbox, shooter games, maybe Battle Royale, like, or what games you think are fun. Farming may not be on that list, but somehow Farming Sim is just so damn fun. Literally me. I mean, look at me. I like Minecraft. I love, you know, Call of Duty. Yet I love Farming Sim. It's literally been on my most played games ever since I was very, very young.
We doing more farming?
back to our regularly scheduled programming. If you're watching this video, chances are you are at least aware of what Farming Simulator is, whether that be through a popular creator who has dabbled in the world of virtual farming. With the game. In this video, we're going to uncover how this seemingly obscure game has garnered worldwide recognition as a AAA title with over 115 million downloads.
Seriously? 115 mil?
I want you to think all the way back to the faraway time of November 2021. You're scrolling through Twitter and you see this. Farming Simulator is the top seller on Steam for the week and is even
Oh my god, how is it top?
Cyberpunk
It's a farming game. That surprises me.
Now this means one of three things. Either these other three games all suck, Farming Simulator is actually a great game, or someone released a cyberpunk western war game called Farming Simulator. Okay, maybe not the last one, but could you imagine neon horses? I'm just saying that I would play that. Anyways, back on topic. Top sellers list, tattooed people riding neon horses into battle, Farming Simulator's on top. But why? Well, to understand what makes Farming Simulator such a successful title, we have to go back to the beginning of it all. No, not the beginning of it all, just Farming Simulator. Let me set the stage for you. The year is 2008, the housing market has crashed, your parents are arguing over whether or not they can afford name brand cereal, and you're laying on the living room floor with your mom's laptop googling showtimes for the new Iron Man movie, and that's when you see it. A dodgy, early 2000s ad for
Landwirtschaft
Simulator 2008. You see, prior to 2008, there were no real successful farming games, at least not to what will be considered success nearly 14 years later. Don't get me wrong, there were plenty of great farming games before Farming Simulator came onto the scene. John Deere American Farmer was released in 2004, just 4 years before the first Farming Simulator. If you've ever played SimCity, this is sort of like its country cousin. Okay, technically that's Sim Farm, but we're not going to get into that today. With American Farmer, you can manage your farm by placing buildings, caring for your crops and livestock, and about every feature you'd expect from a top-down farm management game. I remember playing this game for hours as a kid without really knowing what I was doing. John Deere American
Yeah, I would take out loans in the game and I'd get nailed with debt. I was trash at Farming Sim.
Little did I know around 2009, John Deere would grant me my wish with John Deere Drive Green. At first, I was amazed with this game. Sure, the map was small, the equipment was limited, and overall there was little management to be done, but it had one thing right. For the first time, I finally found a game that let you farm. There's just one problem. It got boring real fast. The first ever farming simulator released in 2008, and then again in 2009 with a few new features. New crops, more machinery, a remastered map.
Dude, the amount of crops in the game.
It was clear
I picked up...
that Giant Software intended to...
Dude, I remember that. I remember when I first went to my mom, I said, hey, can I have this game? Looks fun. I don't know if it... Maybe I'll return it. Maybe, you know... I just... Yes, this makes sense. I can't fit a tube through an area that looks like it could fit, but this giant thing, I'm gonna assume probably like weighs 10 tons, maybe, is suspended by that stupid little... Oh my god.
Proving their game with every release moving forward. In 2011, they released the newest version of their game.
And you could literally make the, claim, oh, Farming Sim is not original. They're like FIFA. It releases every single year. Like, oh my god. Seriously. I'm being serious. Like, just check out how great Farming Sim is, okay? Because here's the thing. Every single year, they add something different. I can tell you that because I've played the game, like, since 2012.
Branded equipment, a new map, and multiplayer mode were the newest features in this Farming Simulator series. Fast forward to modern day, and you'll see that Farming Simulator has over 400 different vehicles, 6 different livestock, and is available on almost every single platform, and is even cross-platform compatible. So
What?
To understand what Farming Simulator is, let's break down what makes it different from its predecessors. Farming Simulator is played around the globe by over 100 million people. That means different crops, different climates, different equipment, and overall different interests. How do you provide a familiar and exciting experience to that many people at one time? Diversity. Farming Simulator has spent the last 14 years expanding the crops you can plant, tractors you can drive, and places you can set up your farm to cover as much of the world as possible. Agriculture is vastly different in different parts of the world. Providing an authentic experience to every player across the globe is a near unimaginable feat. Yet Farming Simulator has almost completed it. Since Farming Simulator does such a great job of capturing the nuances of farming in different regions, it is the perfect game to educate anyone on where their food comes from. Less than 2% of the world's population are farmers. That means 98% of people do not understand even the most simple aspects of modern-day agriculture. Farming Simulator does a perfect job of providing accurate information while ensuring it's easily digestible to the average player. In fact, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, or EIT Food for short, realized this in recent years and works closely with Giant Software to implement new advanced technologies with the Precision Farming DLC. What's amazing is this game succeeds at being educational while still providing plenty of time to relax, enjoying the serenity of acres of crops and pastures.
Dude, I've gotten pissed with Subnautica. I've gotten pissed with Minecraft. I've never gotten pissed off at Farming Sim. It is like when I'm just irritated or irate and mad and I just need to calm down, Farming Sim has honestly been there for me. Like seriously, it really has. The game is fun. Like, and I'm being serious. If anybody watches this has never tried Farming Sim, if you guys play on PS4 or PS5 right now, if you know where to find it, the game is the 22 newest version of the game is being sold for approximately $25 US without tax. The PS3 version actually right now is on sale at Best Buy for $23 besides $60. I think my biggest complaint with Farming Sim is the price this year, and holy shit, it is complex.
Sense of accomplishment when successfully caring for your crop, the spark of creativity when designing your own farm. All of these
Same here.
senses are necessary.
At Walmart, save on thousands
I mean,
of gifts for everyone on your list. Savings are here all month long.
for a healthy mind and soul. Farming Simulator for many is an escape from the world, an opportunity to achieve something important for them that day.
We're farming, not work.
This game can offer you whatever you're in search of. Laughter,
And me and my dad, like what's it called, he doesn't do video games, but he kind of has interest in farming sim. He's never really likes it. So once we actually figure out this glitch, and when we had wind turbines, we actually, if you place them down, you earn money by the hour. How you can do farming sim is you can increase the speed of time. So you can make, like back then, the maximum time was times 60. So it means for every minute, every second in the game was a minute. No, every second in real life was a minute in the game, alright? And, you know, it generates $2,000 an hour, so that's $2,000 a minute, alright? Hold on. I think so, yeah. So every minute in the real world was an hour in farming sim. So what you do is that you would set down your solar panel, take out a loan, set down a solar panel, or sell your tractor and get a solar panel, place it down, turn off TV, go to school, learn your stuff, come back, you'll have like $1 million, and you put down a wind turbine, you let it go for a few days at school. From week 1, or for day 1 to day 7, at the end of the week, you could have hundreds of millions of dollars. It was so fun. You didn't even have to. Oh god. Oh. Sorry. Pardon.
and arguably the most important, community. This is probably the largest category we're going to cover today. For that reason, we're going to split it into 3 parts: creators, players, and modders. First, let's cover the largest demographic in the community category: players. Players technically cover 100% of the community, but for this example, when talking about players, we are referring to the group who exclusively plays the game and does not create anything for or using the game. Players are the face of the game. Without the players, Farming Simulator is nothing. They're the only group who is not expected to deliver a product. Their motives are purely in the game and what it has to offer. This is the true driving force behind Farming Simulator: the player's unique ability to play the game with no ulterior motives. Creators, on the other hand, are primarily focused on video or stream performance, creating content that works well in their respective algorithms, gaining thousands of views and subscriptions in the process. This isn't to say that the creator doesn't enjoy the process of making content or playing the game. It's just to express the slightly adjusted motives from our base player group. There are 2 major things creators need: the player's interest and the modder's creations to continue doing their part in helping new players find Farming Simulator. Modders are a uniquely impactful group. What they create directly impacts the player's experience as well as the content creators can make. Modders are in the position to mold, or rather mod, the game into whatever they want. Well, almost. Just as it is for the creators, modders are held accountable by the players of Farming Simulator. Simply put, players, creators, and modders all work in a delicate balance. The modders create mods for the community, the creators reach a new and existing audience, and the players respond by enjoying the content or not. The cycle continues, and this is ultimately what causes the continual improvements Farming Simulator has experienced to keep them on top. If you remove the modders from the previous equation, you will find that eventually you use up everything you had. Without replenishing the contents of the game, keeping the players engaged, and the creators bringing in new players, it all stops. That's right. The reason for Farming Simulator's success is because of its early understanding of the importance of the modding community. Now, hold on, you're saying, about to excitedly type a gotcha comment. What about all the YouTubers? Well, almost all the YouTubers you showed in the beginning. They did not play the game because of mods. To that I would say, you're right. Now we can finally talk about the last reason people play Farming Simulator. It's a meme. That's it. Many people download Farming Simulator as a joke. They see a video game about farming and think, oh boy, gotta try this. What they find after spending some time in the game is a strong appreciation for everything we've covered earlier. Farming Simulator is a unique game. one that has grown significantly in the last 14 years, but still has plenty to grow. The possibilities with this game are nearly endless. Whether you come for the meat, for the crazy mods, or for the farming, we've all eventually discovered the true treasure that is the farming simulator community. This video is very different from our usual content. If you enjoyed it, consider giving it a...
I have to give a hats off. I have to give a hats off. I have respect for the farming sim community. They're not toxic. They're not assholes. They're not, like, mean. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, yes. The sea glide glitch. Roughly 40 meters a second.
Subscribing. Want to know what might cause the end of Farming Simulator? Get this video to 5,000 likes and I will make a video explaining a theoretical downfall.
Holy shit, what was that? Controller.
I joined Uber One because I hate delivery fees and I need to save money for when I get canceled. And I don't want to go back to selling pictures of my food.
I will admit that ad is kind of funny. Gotta play World of Tanks. Has anybody ever heard of a mouse? Okay. I don't support, like, you know, I don't support the Nazis in World War II, but you know what? Oh god, you gotta give credit to where it's due. They built some really good tanks. Really scary ones, too. Have you seen a Nazi tank? The Tigers? Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I were American and I was fighting the Germans in World War II, I'd be scared if I saw a freaking Tiger tank roll up over a hill and start vibe checking my M4 Shermans. Seriously, like, they built some really good tanks. But they deserved their downfall. They're assholes. Anyway, let's talk about history. At the beginning, Hitler was basically really smart. I'm not saying that I don't like Nazis, honestly. I hate them. They're awful. But you have to give credit where its credit is due. He was Hitler was very smart in the beginning, but he was an idiot. He literally attacked Russia. Why would you attack Russia? I think... Let's go. So, award for the worst military strategian in history goes towards Hitler, because he attacked the Russian force and literally offed his entire military force. What a dumbass. It's a good thing he did that, because nobody liked him anyway. He was a coward, too. Evolution of German tanks.
Hi, I'm Griffin Johnson, the armchair historian. Given the sheer amount of vehicles designed by Germany during the 20th century...
No kidding, they designed a ton of vehicles.
...produced in large numbers, as well as a couple of significant interwar prototypes. If you want to see more videos covering different German tanks, like self-propelled guns and tank destroyers, don't hesitate to let us know in the comments below. Now, enjoy my horrible attempts at German pronunciation. First, I'd like to thank our sponsor.
So basically, in 1944, Hitler approved, and Hitler basically asked for a tank, a big one, that would destroy any Allied tank ever encountered. When contacted, I don't know what company it was, but a designer designed something called the Behemoth. However, to keep the name more secret and elusive, Hitler decided to change it to Maus, or the Maus, I think is how you say it. The Maus basically was a German super heavy tank that existed in 1944. the mouse basically, the mouse was, they built a prototype of the mouse with a body and a simulated turret. When showed to Hitler, Hitler liked the mouse and decided to continue on with the project. Another one was built. However, instead of using a petrol engine, they used a V16, not wrong, V16, diesel engine. However, what happened is that in the 1940s, the Soviets started to invade Germany, so they made the decision to officially destroy both MAU's units. However, the Soviets actually found them both and fixed them, and actually made them back in a new condition. And today, the MAU's hybrid, what they did is they used the parts from both MAU's units. They used both MAU's units and hybrided them both into a workable tank. That tank still exists today at a tank museum in Russia.
Conflict of Nations is a free online PvP strategy game that lets you fight up to 128 other players in weeks-long real-time matches. Build an army with dozens of different units from tanks such as the T-80 or the 2525 Sprut SD, and infantry to jets and nuclear submarines, then deploy them all to conquer the world, fighting alone or as part of an alliance. I especially like the strategic depth and unit variety that makes every battle unique. The game's also cross-platform and allows you to use the same account on both PC and mobile devices. Use the link in the description within 30 days to get 13,000 gold, 1 month of premium subscription, and the chance to enter a special game set up for viewers. More on that at the end of this video.
We make sit-down chicken, stand-up chicken, backyard chicken, oops chicken.
All right. Get this one out.
Chicken, no time chicken. If there's one thing we know, it's chicken, chicken, and chicken. More
Yeah,
choices,
that's
more
not
wow,
incorrect.
more love. Tyson.
Not incorrect.
Cyber Week is here at Tractor Supply. We've got so many deals, we turn them into an entire week of savings in stores and at TractorSupply.com. Stock up on all your favorites like outdoor power equipment, lawn and garden, toys, workwear, and
Germany's first foray into armored warfare began during the Great War with the Sturmpanzerwagen
Panzerwagen. What? Yeah, Wagen.
Sturmpanzerwagen A7V. Created in response to the British tanks that had started appearing on the Western Front in September of 1916, the A7V was quickly prototyped and entered production almost exactly 1 year later. Due to being manufactured by hand, no two A7Vs were entirely alike. Although arguably just as effective as the British Mark IV, the A7V was only built in very small numbers and saw action in a mere handful of engagements before the end of the war. Following its defeat at the hands of the Allies in the First World War, Germany was forced to cease all domestic...
Dude, whoever led, the people that led, like, the people that led Germany from, like, the First World War to the Second are complete dumbasses, dude. They literally screwed Germany over. What's called? Here's what happened. First, from the First World War, Germany had its military heavily restricted because of all the shit they pulled. And then, after the Second World War, their economy was completely crippled. They literally screwed their country and all their people over. What a bunch of idiots. God, Germany has some really rocky history.
Tank production safely away from prying eyes. Various German companies began competing to produce new tank designs under new turrets. One equipped with a 75mm.
That's actually a really good design.
Mounting a 7.9
The turret placement's very.
gun. 6 prototype.
Actually, that's a really good design. They got one in the back, and they got one in the back, and the one in the back looks like if you were engaging the tank, it'd be very, very hard to hit the one in the back, if not impossible completely. And the one in the front is pretty good. It's got a really low profile. Not gonna lie. This tank looks pretty decent. The Germans were really... but they are really good at engineering stuff. German tech is pretty good.
And underwent testing, but were rejected for mass production. If anything, it was the Soviets who gained most from the Großtraktor, using it as inspiration for their own multi-turreted tanks, such as the T-28. During this same period, several prototypes of a second, much lighter vehicle, codenamed the Leichttraktor.
That one does not look good. The turret is in the back, which is pretty good, but it's very large and bulky for a very short vehicle. It looks like it'd tip over very easy. And the turret is a little bit bulkier. It is a little bit too bulky. That's what I see as a weakness. It's got really big sides.
With a 37mm cannon and capable of speeds up to 19 miles or 30 kilometers per hour, the prototypes provided crucial insights into the development of new and better vehicles with improved ergonomics.
The best, 100%, the best vehicle for the time was the Tiger. The Tiger probably made a bunch of Allied troopers piss their pants because it was a pretty good tank. There was a lot of them. There's 1,000 of them, if I'm not wrong. And they had pretty good armaments. It was actually also one of the most famous tanks of World War I, or II. Tigers definitely terrorized the battlefield for a while.
Layouts. Despite the obvious shortcomings of the Großtraktor, some German officers still clung to the outdated concept of the tank as a land battleship. Therefore, in 1934, the enormous three-turreted Neue Fahrzeug was constructed. This lumbering behemoth was an effective propaganda tool and took center stage during Berlin's International Automobile
average
Exposition
tank.
in 1939. Unfortunately, it proved totally useless on the battlefield due to its slow speed and weak armor that could easily be pierced by rifle-caliber ammunition. Fortunately,
if you have a tank and it's penetratable by rifle armor on almost all of its locations, that's a garbage tank in my opinion. You need to have a tank that is impervious to small arms fire, maybe except for like 50 cal, because 50 cal, it's a very big bullet. Honestly, no, you should have it against 50 cal, because 50 cal is on a machine gun that is usually on other tanks. Other tanks have 50 cal machine guns, or 7.62 machine guns.
Multiple designs were already in the works. The first of these was the Panzer I, infantry support tank.
Eins?
Panzer I, armed with twin light machine guns. Over 100 Panzer Is participated in the Spanish Civil War, the first time tanks had seen combat since the First World War. This combat experience proved vital to the development of Germany's armored doctrine, and the Panzer I would go on to see combat in just about every theater of the Second World War. Its chassis was also used by a number of early tank destroyers and self-propelled guns. Although German tank doctrine was already shifting towards the use of heavier vehicles, delays in their production led to the creation of an interim design, the Panzer II, or Panzer II. Armed with a magazine-fed 20mm autocannon, this light tank could punch above its weight class.
Not bad.
Panzer IIs formed the bulk of the
Panzers are where it's at, honestly.
during the invasion of Poland, and gave a good account of themselves in most engagements. The Panzer II saw service right up to the end of the war, with the chassis serving as the basis for many specialized vehicles, such as the Marder II tank destroyer and Wesp self-propelled artillery piece. By 1937, production of heavier vehicles had finally gotten underway, starting with 10 prototypes of the Panzer III, or Panzer III, medium tank. Thanks to its superior ergonomics, the crew of a Panzer III could operate much more efficiently than their French or British counterparts. The prototype saw limited combat during the invasion of Poland.
Panzer IVs are where I'm familiar with. Panzer IVs, in my opinion, are somewhat pretty much light Predators.
By the time of the invasion of France, the Panzer III had been upgraded to the Ausführung E, or Variant E, which had thicker armor and improved suspension. Thanks to their excellent leadership, coordination, and usage of radio communication, the Panzer III was able to run rings around many of the slow, lumbering French tanks they encountered, despite often being substantially outgunned by them. The Panzer III continued to rapidly evolve after the invasion of France, and by the time of the North Africa campaign, most were equipped with the short-barreled 50mm cannon, which would be standardized with the Variant H. But the fighting in North Africa also brought the Germans into contact with their first American tanks, whose long-barreled 75mm guns could easily pierce the armor of any Panzer III. Additionally, the short 50mm cannon proved inadequate against Russian tanks such as the KV-1 and T-34.
KV-1, those two tanks were pretty much like Soviet.
Adolf Hitler ordered an upgrade, resulting in the Variant L, which included spaced armor around the turret mantlet and upper hull. Soon afterwards, the Panzer III reached its ultimate evolution with the Variant M, which added a deep wading exhaust for river crossings and Schutzen armor panels for protection against man-portable anti-tank weapons. Of course, the Panzer III was not the only medium tank that began production in the 1930s. Following an extensive series of prototype designs by multiple companies, the first Panzer IV, or Panzer IVs, began to roll off
Predators.
the production line.
Inaccurate but armored.
Invasion of Poland. These were initially infantry support tanks, lobbing high explosive shells from their short 75mm cannons to destroy enemy bunkers and machine gun nests, a job they excelled at. The cannon was also more than adequate to deal with the lightly armored vehicles.
They can rotate their barrel pretty quickly, or their turret really quickly. They can also, what's it called? They can also go a little bit faster. Usually when I encounter one of these in World of Tanks, even though I think my M4 or like T1 is superior, I always be careful around Panzer IVs because they are predators. They will run around you, and you have to aim a little bit more carefully when you're fighting one in the game. Panzer IVs are predators.
Just like its smaller counterpart,
not the top of the game. Not really a master, but it is kind of a jack of all trades.
Resulting in the Variant D, which had better suspension and improved armor protection. The Panzer IV proved an excellent vehicle during the early stages of the war, but it was outgunned by most British and American tanks, and still vulnerable to even...
Oh, and this is where it gets bad. This is where they just start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Or Variant F1, which increased the frontal armor thickness to 50mm and improved the turret armor thickness by 30mm. The tracks were also widened and the suspension redesigned. But just like the Panzer III, the short-barreled cannon was never powerful enough at a long range. A solution was found in November of 1941 when the Panzer IV received a long-barreled 75mm cannon that could penetrate all but the thickest armor. This transitional model was initially known as the Variant F2 and was later renamed the Variant G after receiving additional armor plating. By 1944, the Panzer IV had reached its full potential in the form of the Variant H, which featured shirts and panels similar to those on the Panzer III. However, it would be all downhill from here, as supply shortages forced the Wehrmacht to simplify the design with the Variant J, which removed the turret motor and replaced the shirtsen with wire mesh. Even so, the Panzer IV continued serving the Wehrmacht faithfully right up until the end of the war. As useful as the Panzer III and IVs were, plans for larger and more powerful vehicles had been floating around since as early
Tiger
as
1, Tiger P,
1935.
Tiger 2.
After the total failure of the Fahrzeug, German engineers went back to the drawing board and came up with a series of prototypes that slowly but surely evolved into arguably the most iconic tank of all time, the Tiger 1, or Tiger 1. With its thick armor,
Oh, the Tiger. Tiger was definitely, I want to say, probably the muscle of the Nazis' ground military. Just seeing them on the battlefield, I can't imagine what veterans felt, you know, seeing them on the battlefield. That must have been a death sentence, honestly. I remember once I played the Tiger 1, I didn't even know it was the most common, or the most, like, iconic. But when I played the Tiger 1 in World of Tanks, it's probably one of the most fun tanks to play. I was really good at angling the Tiger. I remember once, I think I fought like some tanks that were pretty heavy. I think I deflected like 10 shots back to back to back. Like I angled and I blocked 10 shots in a row, which is pretty insane for me. Tiger was so fun.
And surprisingly good mobility.
I gotta play Tiger P.
A terrifying force on the battlefield, exemplifying the German idea of quality over quantity. As such, production figures were very low, fewer than 2,000 units overall. During its operational lifespan, the Tiger 1 received minor upgrades, including a new periscope cupola, various internal modifications, and a new exhaust system. While expensive, the Tiger 1 was effective in its intended role, with its only real shortcoming being the lack of units available for deployment. But Hitler was convinced that the problem lay not in the number of Tiger tanks on the battlefield, but instead with their size and armament.
Oh,
His
no.
solution was the Tiger Ausführung B, a massively oversized and overloaded vehicle seemingly built from the ground up to devour Germany's resources as fast as possible. To
Bathtub.
make matters worse, it was later discovered that many Tiger IIs had inferior welding to their older counterparts, and even shells unable to...
Tiger 2s, when I fight them in World of Tanks, honestly, they are armored, however, let's see. They do pack a little bit of a punch, however, their armor is a little bit weaker than I thought. Honestly, I've almost learned to not be scared of Tiger 2s in World of Tanks. Their armor is kind of shit. You hit them anywhere from the sides, and if you aim closely for the front, you can pretty much penetrate through their armor pretty easily. In the game, not in real life, in the game. I have almost no trouble with Tiger 2s, unless, you know, another one shows up, or if more teammates show up. Yeah, Tiger 2s, at least in World of Tanks, pretty much did not do that good.
Penetrate the armor could slowly crack and deform the chassis to the point of breakdown. German supply shortages eventually reached a point where as many King Tigers were being abandoned due to the lack of spare parts and fuel as were being destroyed by enemy fire. In the end, the Tiger II caused far more panic among its own mechanics and quartermasters than it did among enemy troops. Not all of Germany's late war tank designs were as impractical as the Tiger II, however. In 1943, the Allies would encounter the Wehrmacht's second big cat, the Panther, or Panther. Envisioned as a replacement for the Panzer IV, the Panther boasted well-sloped frontal armor, a mighty 75mm gun, and on-road speeds of up to 55 kilometers or 34 miles per hour.
Not bad.
While much larger and more advanced
Pretty
than
fast.
the Panzer IV, the Panther was not especially difficult or expensive to produce compared to the Tiger, and around 6,000 were built between 1943 and 1945. The initial version was called the Variant D, and was modified partway through production to mount a new cupola and eliminate weak spots created by the driver's vision slit and whole machine gun port. Side armor panels were also added after the Panther was proven vulnerable to the 14.5mm anti-tank rifles used by Russian infantry. Overall armor thickness was further increased with the Variant A, though the design remained the same except for minor details. Unfortunately, the Panther suffered from the same reliability problems and parts shortages as the Tiger II. The suspension system in particular was overcomplicated, while the transmission was prone to failing in the heat of combat. The turret was well armored, but the mantlet was eventually redesigned with the Variant G, eliminating the tendency for it to deflect rounds straight downwards into the hull. The Panther served until the fall of the Third Reich, and despite its issue, remains one of the best late-war tanks fielded by the German military. In the end, not even the Tiger and Panther were able to save the Nazi regime for destruction, and for many years the divided German nation had to make do with equipment borrowed from either the Americans or the Soviets. But in 1956, the Bundeswehr received permission to begin fielding domestic tank designs once again, resulting in the birth of the Leopard 1, or Leopard 1, a main battle tank
1 means
that
1,
gave up
yeah.
thick armor plating in favor of superb mobility. The Leopard 1 was soon recognized as one of the best tanks on the market, and orders flooded in from all around the world. German engineers quickly
Pretty good
improved
looking
the
tank.
base design, adding a thermal jacket to the barrel and side skirts for better track protection. But despite rave reviews by operators across the world, the Leopard 1 would not see sustained combat until the Bosnian War, where Leopard 1A5s were used by peacekeeping forces during several operations. Still not wholly content with their design, German engineers continued to work with their American counterparts during the Cold War to produce an even better armored fighting vehicle. But this super tank, codenamed the MBT-70 or MBT-70, was eventually cancelled, and the Bundeswehr struck out on their own with the Leopard 2 or Leopard 2. Built to take advantage of new advances in armor and fire control technologies, the Leopard 2 swiftly came to be regarded by most operators as the best tank in Europe, easily competitive with the American M1 Abrams. The Leopard
That
2
actually does look like a really good
Germany's
tank.
pioneer MBT, and a
Low
full
profile.
7 different versions have been produced domestically. Thanks again to Conflict of Nations for sponsoring this video.
Evolution of Russian tanks. I think the most iconic Russian tanks are T-74s and T-34s. T-74s have been, I think they're being used in the Ukrainian war. A few T-74 tanks have actually been stolen for the use of agricultural equipment. Hats off to the Ukrainians stealing Russian tanks. That's funny, honestly. I mean, honestly, tanks are not bad. They're really good for pulling stuff.
Few nations embraced the invention of the tank with as much vigor as the Soviet Union. Building on the experiments performed by the Russian Empire in the closing days of the First World War, the Soviet Union constantly sought to improve its armored capabilities, fielding some of the most well-known tanks in military history throughout the Second World War. With the war's end, the Soviets only increased their research and development, preparing for a possible conflict with their ideological enemies and equipping their enhanced tanks with the latest armor and personnel protection technology. This spirit of armored innovation continues in the present day, with the Russian Federation continuing to build on the works of the Red Army. In this second episode of our Evolution of Tanks series, we'll look at the growth of Russian armor, from lightning-quick scout tanks imported as farming equipment to the armored juggernauts of the Soviet Union and beyond. Before we dive into the action, I'd like to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, HelloFresh, a food delivery service dedicated to making cooking at home easy. Turning points in each tank design, both for the sake of brevity and preventing our animators from launching a workers' revolution of their own. Additionally, we'll be focusing on tanks exclusively and will not be covering small armored vehicles, tank destroyers, or self-propelled guns. With that said, let's begin.
Is that the first tank?
Like her continental peers, the Russian Empire began experimenting with armored warfare during the First World War. In August of 1914, designer Alexander Porokhovchikov was tasked with creating an all-terrain vehicle.
Why is every Russian name or last name
the result
and then of or something?
Vezdikot, literally translating as all-terrain vehicle. With a reputed top speed of 42.6 kilometers per hour and iron armor plating, the Vezdikot is the first of a handful of Russian tanks that are poorly understood. Little information survives about this Tsarist experiment. The Vezdikot project was carried out in spurts between 1914 and 1916, ultimately ending in the October of that year. With the fall of the Russian Empire and the rise of the Soviet Union, international trade disputes resulted in American weapons designer Walter J. Christie inking a deal to sell his design for a fast tank to the Red Army. The first of these American tanks were built and shipped to the Soviet Union as agricultural tractors to skirt an arms embargo imposed upon the communist state. Thanks to its Christie suspension system, the B-2 had incredible mobility, and a simple field modification allowed the fragile tracks to be removed, letting the wheels run directly on paved surfaces, enabling top speeds of up to 55 kilometers or 34 miles per hour. 4 years after the B-2's adoption, the Red Army slowly replaced it with the BT-7, which remained in service until the end of the Second World War. The BT-7 could reach a top speed of 86 kilometers or 53 miles per hour on road and 50 kilometers or 31 miles per hour off-road. The BT-20 light tank was introduced in 1938 as a pre-production model for the T-34. 2 main variants were produced, the BT-20 or A-20 and the A-32 or T-32. The A-20 mounted a 45mm pole to aid in protection and manufacturing, respectively. The A-32 added 2 more wheels on each track and widened the tracks themselves. Full armor was thickened across the board, and the caliber of the main gun was upgraded to a 76.2mm L10. The A-32 was a limited production model, similar to its successor. The A-32 served as the basis for the T-34, laying the foundation for one of the most effective tanks in military history, which made its debut following the outbreak of the Second World War.
Don't let psoriatic arthritis get in the way. Taltz reduces joint pain and stiffness. And for those with moderate to severe psoriasis, Taltz is proven to give you a chance at 100% clear skin.
Variants of the T-34 would serve across the globe in conflicts ranging from World War II to Korea. There were many variants produced, but here are the most notable. The basic Model 1940 T-34 saw action from 1940 to 1944 and carried a crew of 4 with an L-11 76.2mm main gun like the T-32 that preceded it. Weighing in at 26.8 tons and with between 16 and 52 millimeters of armor thickness, the T-34 could reach a top speed of 54 kilometers per hour or 33.5 miles per hour as it pushed back the tide of Nazi aggression. The 1943 T-34...
Soviets did only one thing correctly. It's kick the Nazis' ass. That's it. That's where it ends.
Adding an additional crew member and bringing armor thickness in selective areas up to 80 millimeters. This extra protection led to a sharp increase in weight at 32 tons, but reduced speeds of 38 kilometers or 23 miles per hour. The 1943 model also increased the size of the main gun, bringing the caliber up to 85 millimeters. In 1945, the T-34-85 was outfitted with an electrically driven traverse motor for the turret, greatly enhancing its ability to engage moving targets in a chaotic battlefield environment. Over 57,600 of these motorized turret tanks would be built before the war's end. The final T-34 variant added night driving gear and an enlarged fuel tank to bring the war-weary platform into the modern age. The T-44 tank was brought into service beginning in 1944. While originally intended to build on the T-34, the final product ended up being a complete redesign. Weighing in at 31 tons, and with 4 crew members, the tank featured an impressive 120mm maximum armor thickness. A total of 1,823 tanks were built from 1944, but none saw service during the Second World War. 1961 saw the T-44M roll off of the assembly line, the first in a long line of retrofitted tanks with the letter M designated for modernized. The T-44M was refitted with increased ammunition and fuel capacity, as well as night vision and infrared sights, enabling it to fight in any situation. The T-54 succeeded the T-44, going on to become the most widely used tank throughout the Eastern Bloc. Over 35,000 were built, and modernizations and adaptations kept the model in regular use through the 1990s and possibly even into the 2020s. The T-54 shared a similar armor layout as its predecessor, but now utilized a torsion bar suspension system with redesigned treads. An articulated gun sight and anti-aircraft machine gun were additional features added to the base design over time. In 1954, the Red Army used the T-54 platform to test the D-54TS 100mm main gun paired with a Raduga stabilizer. This modernization project, the T-54M, would serve as a blueprint for future T-54 designs as models began integrating separate stabilization systems and also began being identified with alphabetic suffixes. In 1957, the T-54B took the field, armed with a new rifled gun and a second-generation STP stabilizer, while improved survivability was provided by standardized self-sealing fuel tanks. 1959 saw the addition of infrared optics. An infrared searchlight was mounted on the commander's cupola, and the gunner was given an IR sight to allow target acquisition in any level of light. The T-55 tank built on many of the innovations of the T-54, with a new focus on protection and survivability in all manner of combat conditions. The base T-55 was a formidable fighting vehicle, with a plethora of improvements over the T-54, such as an improved engine and a full complement of nuclear, biological, and chemical safeguards inspired by nuclear blast tests performed on the T-54. Over 27,500 units were produced over the course of the model's service life.
They nuked tanks? Attention, we're gonna do this test. No, not to test the blast shield, to nuke the tank.
Our mission
That's smart, by the way. If you can make... Dude, does this thing like...
the rest of their lives so that no matter what happens, their plan works and we're with them every step of the way.
During the 1970s and 80s, the T-55 underwent a veritable maelstrom of improvements. Under the model names T-55M and T-55AM, the tank was outfitted with increased armor and anti-mine defenses, an upgraded engine, new tracks and suspension, a laser rangefinder fitted onto the
Oh, laser...
main
Jesus.
smoke grenade launchers for concealment, and many other
Man, Soviets...
A notable
Okay, never mind.
variant
Soviets only
was
built...
the T-55
like,
modified for service in
tanks are
Afghanistan,
smart.
which was
Holy
given
shit.
soft side skirts over its tracks and a rear RPG screen to counter the conditions of the Soviets' battle against the Taliban and other militants. The 1990s saw a revolution in tank defense with the introduction of explosive reactive armor, where a layer of explosive material is sandwiched between the sheets of armor plating. When struck by a shell or any projectile, the sandwiched explosive will detonate, ideally destroying the shell before it can penetrate the armor and kill the crew inside. The T-55 received its first outfitting of ERA with the T-55MV and the AMV, which were initially adopted by the Soviet naval infantry before spreading to its newly formed ground forces of the Russian Federation following the Soviet Union's collapse. Introduced in tandem with the T-55 was the 1961's T-62, of which 22,700 were built. Created as an answer to the British Centurion and American Patton tanks, the T-62 had a 115mm smoothbore cannon firing new kinetic energy penetrator rounds. With a 102mm frontal plate angled at a 60-degree angle and a turret up to 214mm thick in some places, the T-62 had excellent armor for its day. It was eventually modernized as the T-62M. Equipped with a Volna rangefinder, improved sights, and a ballistic computer. 10mm of armor was added to the tank's side skirts, and improved NBC protection completed the overhaul. 1963 saw the introduction of the T-64 platform. 12,000 of the base tanks were built, notable for their sharp increase in armor thickness, a maximum of 599mm.
Jesus.
A reduction of crew from the standard 4 to 3.
Damn.
The first refresh for the T-64 came in 1966, with the introduction of the T-64A. The main gun was scaled up to 125mm from an initial caliber of 115mm, with a new rangefinder and sights. Additionally, a new turret was introduced for the commander, as well as an anti-aircraft gun. Intended as the second-generation main battle tank for the Soviet armed forces, this 41.5-ton behemoth was armed with a 125mm main gun, as well as a 12.7mm anti-aircraft machine gun and a coaxial 7.62 machine gun for anti-infantry duties. The BA variant of the T-72 added ERA in the form of Contact 1 composite plates arrayed along the turret and hull.
Damn, these things are ahead of their time.
Received upgrades to its contact armor throughout its useful life, up until the modern-day T-72B3 introduced thermal sighting for improved target acquisition in all manner of conditions. First produced in 2014, the T-72B3 can still be found in Russian armored units today. Introduced in 1976, the T-80A was an amalgam of new parts and components from the T-72 and the T-64. The driver's
Can
position
you edit my
shifted
inventory
to
out?
the center of the crew compartment, with the other two crew positioned inside a new two-man turret. ERA and NBC protection came standard, and over 5,000 T-80As were produced. T-80U, short for Uluchenya, or improved, sported the Contact 5 ERA system, as well as an improved engine, leading to increased survivability, range, and service life. The T-90 tank was introduced as the third-generation main battle tank for the nascent Russian Federation. 2,260 of these 45.7-ton tanks were built, mounting a 125mm main gun along anti-tank missile capability. The Russian government has released little other information about the T-90, which continues to serve to this day. The latest model, the T-90AM, features a smoothbore 2A46M5 gun, as well as upgrades to its armor and engine. Our last medium tank was introduced in 2015. A T-14 Armata is the cutting edge of Russian MBT design. 900mm of armor protects its crew of 3, who operate a 2A82 smoothbore gun and 12.7mm cord machine gun and 7.62mm of the gunner and loader traditionally found in tank crews. Production for the model was planned to reach 2,300 between 2015 to 2020, with a test batch of 100 to be issued to the 2nd Guards Motor Rifle Division in 2021.
Heavy tanks?
You can get any phone you want. Anyone I want?
Connection is the greatest gift of all. At US Cellular, we're offering any phone free, plus $100 to spend on accessories.
The first of Russia's heavy tank designs, the T-28, featured a crew of 5 and later 6 men operating a 76.2mm howitzer and between 3 to 5 7.62mm machine guns. A rolling gun position, the T-28 was protected by 20 to 30mm of overall armor thickness. 503 units were produced between 1932 and 1941. A sterling example of the short-lived trend of outfitting massive tanks with multiple turrets, the T-35 could be best described as a land battleship, with a total of 5 gun turrets covering massive
Jesus!
more of a propaganda tool than a weapon of war. T-35 units rumbled into action during Operation Barbarossa, only to promptly break down en masse and be scuttled by their crews to prevent capture by the Germans. The KV heavy tank first debuted in 1939.
KV-1s.
The base tank had a production run of
Dude, I hated fighting these things when I was a Tiger. No, or a Panther 4 on World of War tank. Or
25 to
tanks.
90mm of armor made the tank an extremely tough nut to crack.
It was a tough nut to
The
crack.
generation KV-1B, introduced in 1940, added an additional machine gun as well as an improved cannon. The 1B was a simplified design, intended for mass production, and 1,200 were built. And now, behold, the Russian Death Bridge. Introduced in 1940, the KV-2 proved more than effective against the Wehrmacht during the defense of the Soviet Union, topping out at 57.5 tons and mounting a 152mm howitzer as its main gun. This 6-man juggernaut helped stop the German invasion cold. First introduced in 1943, the IS series of heavy tanks served
IS tanks are a bitch to fight in World of Tanks. I hate fighting IS units. I put the fear of God in me, honestly.
Was based on the KV-85, and sought to address the mobility and armament problems the KV line had developed while taking advantage of the armor trade-offs and design choices made in the previous series. At 43 tons, and with a crew of 4, the IS-1 mounted an 85mm main gun, complemented by 3 7.62 machine guns. 120mm of frontal armor protected the hull and turret. Introduced later in 1943, the IS-2 was designed specifically to counter German heavy tanks, with 3,854 of these purpose-built cat killers rolling off of the assembly line. A 122mm main gun promised to deal heavy damage to Nazi armor, and a Dishka anti-aircraft machine gun warded off any Luftwaffe attackers. Just a year after the introduction of the IS-2 came the IS-3, first unveiled during the Allied Victory Parade in Berlin. The IS-3 had an all-new armor layout and a distinctive pike-nosed turret that offered excellent protection. Introduced in 1952, the penultimate version of the Soviets' heavy tank platform began its life as the IS-9, later rechristened the IS-10, and then the T-10 in 1953 as part of the de-Stalinization program of Nikita Khrushchev. Over 5,000 of these tanks were built, featuring a 122mm main gun and 2 12.7mm machine guns, as well as 250mm of armor at its thickest. The final version of the Soviets' heavy tank program, the T-10M, was completed in 1957. Modernizations included replacing one machine gun with a 14.5mm cannon, as well as integrating optics and NBC protection in the platform. A longer hull and turret accommodated a larger gun with an integral muzzle brake. The net result was a massive vehicle that was ultimately abandoned in favor for other tank designs.
probably gonna still go to work with a sore throat, but like, I swear to God, if this doesn't clear up tomorrow, I swear to God, I don't like this, man. What? I'm a little bit livid right now. I think I might have the cold. Swear to God, man, I better not be getting a sore throat. Mm.
Captain, all systems online.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Probably there's a small bump of Oh wait, actually no. Let's loot over here. Douchebag. Oh, it's a bioreactor unit. Oh shit! I'm not paying attention. I almost killed myself. God, if I would have not paid attention for about 3 more seconds, I probably would have died. Or 6. Crap, I did not see that. I needed to pay more attention. think one thing that bugs me about looking for quartz in these areas is, of course, the tall red grass is easy to hide all the quartz. The best way to do this is to look up, like be a little bit. Like, see, like there's some right here. Is there one right here? No. Right there. That was a really well hidden piece of quartz. Uh. I have to recharge my ship here in a few minutes, probably. I need to do another thermal charge. Nope.
30 seconds.
I'm gonna go for right now. I'm gonna finish the base probably tomorrow. And I think on the weekend, if I have time, I'm probably gonna see if I can build the final base, which is in the bulb zone. Yeah, you're pretty good on the bases, by the way.